The Church of Santa Maria Maggiore is one of the most important Roman basilicas, and the first in the West to be dedicated to the Mother of the Savior. Built in the 5th century AD, it rises on the Esquiline Hill in the middle of a quarter built in the late 19th century. Today, the exterior of the basilica reflects additions of the 17th and 18th centuries. The tall bell tower is medieval. The interior is closer in appearance today to the original 5th century building, which is the subject of this program. Before the church was built, the hillside was occupied by luxurious Roman mansions. One, dating from the 1st century AD, has been partly excavated. It lies under the rear half of the basilica. The Liber Pontificalis, the first collection of papal biographies, attributes the construction of Santa Maria Maggiore to Pope Sixtus III, who was pope from 432 to 440. But we suspect that he was responsible only for the decoration and dedication of a building that was initiated some 30 years before his reign. The facade of the 5th century church is not known. Similar Roman churches had a quadriporticus, or colonnaded courtyard, in front of the facade. The plan on the ground before the virtual basilica indicates that Santa Maria Maggiore may also have had this kind of entrance. The walls are built of concrete faced with brick. The computer reconstruction is based on archaeological remains, Renaissance drawings, and comparisons with other Roman basilicas of the same period. The reconstruction's plain, undecorated walls probably make too severe an impression. As at St. Peter's, the walls of Santa Maria Maggiore were probably covered with painted plaster, and the upper facade decorated with mosaics. Apart from a few important modifications made by the 18th century architect Ferdinando Fuga, the nave of the church today has not changed very much since it was built in the 5th century. Here too, the bare appearance of the church is only partly correct. We do not know what furniture was placed in the nave. The design and location of the altar table and bishop's throne are only approximate. We do know that Sixtus gave the church hanging lamps and candelabra made of precious metals. Drapery was hung between the columns. The original pavement is not preserved. In the virtual reconstruction, the floor is based on the contemporary pavement of St. John Lateran. Above the architrave of the nave, the 5th century mosaics are still preserved today. They show scenes from the Old Testament. Above the mosaics are windows which let light shine into the church. The decoration of the windows with pilasters and columns can be reconstructed on the basis of surviving evidence. The original decoration of the half dome in the apse is not known. The apse was rebuilt by Pope Nicholas IV, who in the late 13th century commissioned Jacopo Torriti to install the stunning mosaic we see in the church today. But fortunately, the original mosaics of the arch which frames the apse are almost completely preserved. At the top, we see the empty throne, which alludes to God's presence. To the sides of the throne are the apostles Peter and Paul, and the symbols of the 4 evangelists. Under the throne is a Latin inscription stating, Sixtus the Bishop, for the people of God. To the sides of the inscription is a richly complex cycle of scenes showing the infancy of Christ. The panels above the colonnade on the left side of the nave show scenes from the life of Abraham and Jacob. Here, for example, we see Melchizedek offering bread and wine to Abraham. The mosaics on the right side of the nave present scenes from the life of Moses. Here, for example, we see Moses leading the children of Israel through the Red Sea. Off the nave are the 2 side aisles. They have lower ceilings and less illumination. They end at the deambulatory, a kind of semicircular corridor behind the apse. The deambulatory is a peculiar feature of Santa Maria Maggiore. It is not found in other Roman basilicas of the same period within the city walls. Its reconstruction is hypothetical, based on a passage in the Liber Pontificalis and also on remains of the foundations under the church. The deambulatory was opened to the apse and nave through a system of supports and openings. The reconstruction hypothesizes that this was achieved through a colonnade with an architrave, creating an impression of lightness. The nave accommodated the participants in the liturgy. The side aisles provided extra space for the faithful and permitted the congregation to circulate through the building. On the rear facade, above the entrance, there was a long inscription. The inscription records Pope Sixtus's dedication of the church to the Virgin Mary. The text was created as a mosaic. It does not exist today and is known only from medieval copies. The Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore was one of the last monumental works created in ancient Rome. Praised as at once classical and Christian, it was a church without equal for its splendor and harmony.